Yesterday on an interview on Talk Radio 702, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said black anger is justified and guess what? It is white people's fault. What is this black anger that we are seeing rising here in our country today? Well, one example would be Andile Mngxitama, who said that black people should go out and kill white people, even their wives, children, and even their dogs and cats.
We'll kill their children, we'll kill their women, we'll kill anything that we find on our way.
Another example would be Gcobani Ndzongana, who is leading a riot in Hermanus currently because he, as he said on Facebook, wishes to drive white people into the sea. Let's take a listen at what the President Cyril Ramaphosa had to say about this black anger.
It is anger, and it is justifiable anger. It is justifiable, and that's precisely what we keep saying, that white South Africans and those who have power in their hands must realize that the black majority in this country are becoming more and more impatient about their lackadaisical commitment to inclusion, their lackadaisical commitment to recognition of black young people and black people in general. The racist acts that we've been have been happening largely from white people, and we are saying that must come to an end. And that is the message that we are preaching, and we must continue to preach. We must never give up, because if we do give up, then South Africa descends into mayhem. If we do not continue with this message of pulling and pushing all the time.
Alright, so firstly he says that racism comes largely from white people. So we just had Andile Mngxitama saying that he wants to kill white people, even their dogs, their cats and their wives and their children. And we also had this Gcobani character saying that he wants to drive the white people of Hermanus into the sea. Just imagine for 1 second if this was true what the president says. Just imagine for 1 second if white people were actually the ones saying we have to drive all black people into the sea, like this character Gcobani from Hermanus, or if it was a white leader saying that we should kill all black people, their wives, their children and their cats and their dogs. This is completely delusional. Now, on the funny side of this, I quite enjoyed when he said that he was angry about the lackadaisical attitude of white people. You know, I assume that he meant lackadaisical, not lackadaisical, but you know, that's something that usually happens when people are trying to sound smart by using words that are not in their vocabulary. While such individuals definitely deserves flockinocci nihilipilification. Don't you agree? South Africa is going through a very, very bad time. We are seeing the plastic workers' strike in the upper part of the country, where black individuals from the National Union of Metal Workers are burning down factories and destroying property.
Violent protests have been accompanying the NUMSA strike action since mid-October, with hundreds of factories vandalized, hundreds of vehicles, including private ones, burnt, and many people hospitalized.
But whose fault is that? Well, definitely those pesky white people who are going to their jobs and stuff. We also have Gcobani Ndzongana in Hermanus saying that he wants to drive white people into the sea, and he led a series of riots starting in March this year. Well, whose fault is that? Well, of course, those pesky white people with their lackadaisical attitudes, you know, running coffee shops and stuff for the tourists. Last night, after the interview came out, this article on Fin24 was published, titled Ramaphosa saying growing black anger about lackadaisical. Okay, so they misquoted him, they used the correct word and not the word that he used. Whites with power. White South Africans, mainly those with power in their hands, must realize that particularly young black people are becoming increasingly angry about their lackadaisical attitude. President Cyril Ramaphosa said on Thursday evening during a live interview on 702. Isn't it wonderful how we can have such double standards in this country? A white person like Vicki Momberg goes to jail for 3 years for using an insulting word towards black people. Yet black people can go out and they can say they want to kill all whites, even their dogs, their cats, even their women and their children. And these white people get blamed for that by the president of the country. The president of the country said it's these white people's fault. What have these white people do? Ask yourselves. And I would love to invite anyone to tell me in the comments exactly one thing that the white people have done to be responsible for this quote-unquote black anger that we are seeing in this country. Why are we even calling it black anger? Isn't anger a bit of a weak word to use for people rioting, destroying property, wanting to drive white people into the sea, things like this happening, and also our farmers getting slaughtered like abattoir stock? My own family were slaughtered on their farm, tortured for more than 6 hours in their house. Old people in my family, my grandfather's brother and his wife, both late in their 80s, getting tortured for 6 hours, getting messages, racist and satanic messages written on the walls. This happened to me in my own life. And now I have the president of my country telling me black anger is justified because I and the rest of the white people are lackadaisical. I think this country has reached a level of ridiculousness and hatred against a particular minority that we can't turn back from. But how are we going to go forward from this? How are we going to help ourselves to get over this? Because, of course, as we can see here, the president of the country agrees that he is not on our side. You might remember that this is the same president who said before the ANC came into power that the plan of the ANC is to boil the white people like frogs by raising the temperature slowly so that the white people are not noticing that they are being boiled, and once they do notice, it will be too late. Well, I am noticing right now, and maybe it is time to stand up for ourselves. What are we going to do? Well, we can begin by supporting organizations that are helping us, supporting organizations that are standing up for our rights, and we can start getting involved in our communities ourselves. Get involved in the neighborhood watch. Get involved in the groups that are protecting your community from onslaughts like these. The time for sitting still has ended. Goodbye and God bless.